Hello, everyone, and welcome to You're on Fire, a Pokemon Unite podcast hosted by myself, Spragels, your resident content cowboy, yeehaw, as well as Loosh. Hello, Loosh.
Hello.
And, of course, the great Crashy. Hi, Crashy.
I'm blue.
You are blue. I forgot to call you blue.
This is another one of those situations where, like, the people listening have no context. I'm so sorry.
He's a Smurf, guys.
I have blue hair.
Crashy has blue hair. If you are listening right now and you want to see the full podcast in video form, you can head over to my YouTube, youtube.com/whatever, Spraggles. And if you're seeing this in video form and you want it in audio, it's available all places podcasts exist, basically. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you get it. Today, we are going to talk about Azumarill, which has been out for a little while, so I think we'll have a good idea as to where this Pokemon is fitting inside the game right now. We're going to talk about the Eos Cup, which is coming up for North American EU next weekend. I'm not sure when OCEs is. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then, of course, we have a new season coming out. By the time you listen to this, maybe the next day or so. So we have a lot of things that we're excited about, some things that maybe have been spoiled that are upcoming. A ton of stuff to get into today, but let's start with Azumarill. Crashy, you're blue. Why don't you start out talking about kind of your time with Azumarill, some of your impressions on it?
Beautifully planned. Listen, we put this off. No, our schedules got a little crossed, but we're here to talk about Azumarill. And yeah, man, what an interesting Pokemon. It's like I played it, and you know the knee-jerk reaction to Pokemon is so. It can swing so much. Like, I've had characters that I'm like, this is terrible, and then it turned out to be really good, and vice versa. I think Azumarill, it feels okay, you know? That's the best way. I originally was like, oh man, this thing's really bad. It's not nearly as bad as I thought it was, but it definitely feels like it struggles to kind of like do anything particularly good that something else can't do. But it's not the worst thing in the world, and I like playing it, so that's cool. It's very ult spammy. It's like the Pikachu of the all-rounder role, kind of. You can spam ults just like crazy on it, which is really, really fun. And yeah, it's got an interesting playstyle. It has kind of like a melee in-your-face kind of playstyle, and then it has like the more like Aqua Tail, kind of like stay at rangey, go in, kind of calculated kind of pace to it. And yeah, I don't know. It's fun, not overly impressive. I think we saw it a little bit in competitive, but it doesn't seem like it's making huge waves or anything in competitive. But yeah, it's just what I think about it.
Loosh?
It's there, right? It exists. It's blue, like Crashy.
Mm-hmm.
Azumarill is like, it feels close. It feels close, but it feels like so far, right? Like it's not terrible. It's fine. Play it, but don't expect to be able to like catch anyone. You know, if they decide to just turn around and walk away, like you'll gut chomp at that point, right? You just deal with it, you accept it, and I think the Unite's really cool. I like that the cooldown's quick and you can spam it, and you get that big damage boost, right? The big shield as well, and it's pretty impactful when it has its Unite up, and it feels like that's how it's meant to be played, right? You're meant to have your Unite up all the time, and it's pretty cool when it does, but when it doesn't, it's there. It's there.
Yeah, it is there. I think we can all agree that this Pokemon is there. One thing I really like about Unite is, at first, I thought that every new Pokemon that came out was crazy overpowered. And sometimes they come out crazy overpowered. I felt like, Duraludon completely took over the entire game's meta for a little while because it was just so unbelievably overpowered. And it's still very good, even after its nerfs. Azumarill reminds me a lot of Aegislash in that it's, as we've all said, it's good, but not game-breaking in any way. However, we see how just little tweaks to things can push something over the edge. So this Pokemon with a little more movement speed and maybe a little more survivability all of a sudden becomes an absolute monster. I really like this Pokemon as well. Just like Crashy said, I like playing it, but I do feel like, especially because when you dive into a new Pokemon, there's so much excitement around it. I did come away from it feeling a little underwhelmed at times. It's just, it's good. It's cool. Having a Unite for every single important fight in the game is a pretty fun way to play a Pokemon. But yeah, besides that, it feels like after your kind of first burst of what you're doing inside a big fight, you're not that impactful, which is unfortunate for a Pokemon like this.
Yeah. Does it feel super squishy to you guys for an all-rounder?
Yes.
It feels like you just get deleted. But I guess you're supposed to have the Unite up. I feel like that's how this Pokemon's
I kind of
played.
liken it to like it feels like the all-rounder Absol. Like and I mean, I don't know if that's fair to say, but it's very squishy. But if you build like full damage on this character, it can burst. It can do like a lot of damage really quickly. So the irony is that like I've played like a handful of builds on it. I still really don't even know what I think the best build is. But there's like a couple that I like. I like doing kind of like the Aegislash build that I do, where you run like weakness focus buddy, so you're like bulky and you can kind of stay in the fight. But honestly, the more I played Azumarill, I started playing with just like triple damage. I was like running muscle scope and like attack weight, and I was just like try to get as many attack stats as I can. And like when the fight breaks, like say they have like a Decidueye, a Greninja, or something like that, a Pikachu, I just like ult go in and I just A press until I'm dead. Like and a lot of the time when I played like that, if we weren't like already like struggling, like I'll insta wipe that character and I just like kind of scurry off into the bushes and try to get out of there.
Yeah.
So it feels a lot like that like Night Slash, get in there, blow ult, see what happens kind of play style in the end game.
Yeah. The build I like is the build I like is like I think I got like attack weight weakness buddy. I like that the best, and I like playing in the top lane. And I really I find Water Pulse to be so. Is it Water Pulse? What's it called?
Which
the role.
Which one?
Which one? Yeah, Water Pulse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's so weird, but so cool, right? Like it's such a fun move to use. I've rolled the wrong way a couple times.
Yeah.
I'm sure we have.
It takes
it's
a little
very
getting
strange
used
use.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like Whirlpool as well. I think Octo's fun, but I really like Whirlpool. I like the sustainability because, like, I guess at least then I can kind of fight a little bit, you know. But yeah, I think it just if it had just like a little mobility, like a little more mobility, a little more, it would be a real threat. Because like your job is to like what dive a Cinderace and take them out. But are you going to catch them? You going to catch the Cinderace?
See, this is why I feel like Chris Heroes kind of made me a play rough believer, because play rough is basically just like a mini X speed. And so like originally I was like water pulsing. I was like, man, water pulse just seems like consistent enough. Like I know I can like. I didn't like the play rough attack, like the kind of like the what is it, like the almost like the spark kind of like wild chargey attack. I just didn't really care for it. It doesn't really do any damage either. It does like nothing. But I do like the oh god, they're running after me, and I just like play rough the other way. I play passively rough. I don't know. I just like go the other way with it. So yeah, I saw Chris playing it, and I was like, man, like yeah, I think I'm gonna try that out. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I really do like Water Pulse and the oh gosh, I'm so bad at the move names. The spinny one.
Aquatail?
No,
Whirlpool.
Whirlpool. Okay, so I like Whirlpool and Water Pulse together, and then I like play rough and Aquatail together. Those are like the two niches. I actually think you can play rough with either one of them either, just because like I said, it really is basically just like a little mini
like
XP.
passive? Like, do you like the passive?
Yes, but it's confusing.
It's
confusing just because I guess why make it crit less if the idea behind it is like doing a ton of critical hit damage? It seems odd that you have weaker critical hits. I get it. It's kind of cool. When you do catch someone alone, they're in a lot of trouble. But
definitely.
also, it's really easy to shut this Pokemon down just by walking right next to it. Just for that very reason. So
I feel like they definitely, I mean, I say definitely, but it feels like they probably preemptively nerfed this character. And like maybe the crits were like their normal crit hit damage like percentage, and then they were like, oh gosh, like the reception is like, oh, this character's gonna be broken, like it's gonna be crazy, and so then they nerfed it.
The numbers are different to the data mine stats we got.
that's true.
Yeah, so well the stats alone too, but like even just like the crit percentage, like it's like 150, and so it's like you just do less than a normal crit, and this is why I was so on the fence about running like scope lens on it. Like originally my thought process was like, okay, you have to run scope lens, it's got to have so much crit. And then I started running scope lens and I was like, is this bait? Like, is this a bait item? Like, am I supposed to not run this?
Yeah.
Well, so then it feels like it, but then I started playing the like triple damage style where I'm just like literally just like all inning, and then I was like, well, now I'm doing a lot of damage. So it's just so bizarre. I think that Azumarill falls into that same category like Serena and Lucario, where dude, they have a lot of options. Like they have so many build options, and that feels nice. I think regardless of the items, though, the character just isn't quite good enough for it to like matter too much. Like you can just kind of like pick a style and play it. But I've had a couple of games. I had a triple damage item game where I did like a ton of damage and like killed like everything, and I was like, oh my god, that felt strong. And then I had a weakness policy focus band buddy game where I felt super tanky and I felt like they couldn't kill me, and that was a little interesting too. Not super tanky, the character's not that tanky, but it felt like it was like much more durable and it was like hard for them to kill me. So I was
you
like,
take at least 3 hits. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As opposed to 2, you know.
Yeah.
I also really like for build, I also play weakness focus buddy mainly, but I've gone full out with damage. Something that you just said, Crashy, that I think is so true, specifically about Azumarill, but also all of the all-rounders in Unite right now. They're really the only group that has extreme varied build variety. Like the all-rounders, you actually see a lot of stuff and you go, yeah, I could see running that on Lucario. There are tons of options there. I could see, Machamp. There's like 6 items that work pretty well for Machamp. And Azumarill's no different. I love weakness policy for this character because it affects so many things, but also a scope lens is pretty good. You critically hit a lot, not just against enemy Pokemon, but wild Pokemon. Getting extra damage from that's important. You know, having the extra damage pop on all your basics really helps every other second or so. So I think there are tons of build options for this character, which is pretty cool. I also like Water Pulse, Whirlpool. I think the sneaky thing about Water Pulse is that poke on it, especially once you get to level 13, around a late game fight, if you can get a couple of those off, you did a sneaky, I don't know, 5k damage twice almost.
Yeah.
It does a
The
lot
bounce
of
on
damage.
it. Yeah, the bounce on it's definitely not to be ignored. I was gonna just throw this one out there because it's just sitting on the top in like the back of my head. It's like there's only like one all rounder that has like no build diversity, and it's like Chonky Boy right here. Like Charizard has like no build diversity, but a lot of the other all rounders they really do. But I feel like it's mostly just because of his playstyle. Like it's weird. Charizard
Could you take any of those 3 items off Charizard?
Not really, because like people. Okay, so listen, I feel like Energy Amplifier as an item, it's been a niche item, but it's kind of like growing in popularity a little bit lately. Or it feels like people are starting to fit it in a little bit more. And Energy Amplifier used to be like what I would run on Charizard, and I run it in solo queue every now and then. But the reality is like Muscle Scope Buddy, right? Like you just can't get away from it. And I think I've
seen people drop Buddy for focus.
I've seen Scope drop for focus too. So I guess there technically is a little bit of diversity, but I think it's the play style of Charizard's kit is that you know what they should do? They should take his off like punch build and raise the scalings like really high. So that way running something like an attack weight or a weakness would like fit for that build, but they could keep the scalings of like flamethrower and fire blast.
Is fun though with the punch build. It is fun.
I mean, you get a bigger shield.
Yeah, you get gigantic shield.
I know. I like that build a lot too. It's so dangerous because you got to get those stacks in late, especially when you play solo like me. You're like diving as Charmander. You're like, this isn't gonna go well.
Can fight you at level 5 with Fire Punch. You just kill everyone. It's so good. It's fun.
It's pretty awesome. But you're right. That's one of the all-rounders that has very little build diversity. But all the other ones, you know, especially one like Dragonite, where you've got its Hyper Beam build is built like this, its Outrage build is built like this. The all-rounders are in a really cool spot item-wise because of that.
I feel like Lucario could run special attack items and still do fine.
Oh yeah, you could run leftovers on Lucario. You'll be all right.
You can run like leftovers. You can triple glasses Lucario, and you'll still.
In fact, I've seen a lot of them in some of my games. They got a Rocky helmet, leftovers. They're doing great.
They usually have the XP share. Usually.
Crash, are we recording video?
yeah, we are.
So let's talk a little bit. We touched on it lightly, but the idea of Azumarill in competitive play, I thought we might see Azumarill for 2 reasons. One, it could counter solo top because if it's alone with something, it critically hits. I think maybe that isn't the case. Obviously, we haven't seen it much competitively in that setting because its critical hits are not as powerful as maybe we expected them to be. And the other thing that I thought could be amazing competitively was Aqua Tail going through shields to sort of break people from scoring, but that didn't actually pan out the way I thought it would either. It's weird because I thought both of those things were almost direct counters to how the game is played in some ways, and they wanted to shake up the meta, but that didn't exactly happen. So right now I see Azumarill in kind of a weird place. I would love to see some teams try it, but as we mentioned earlier, it's more of just a buddy barrier spammer with its Unite move and kind of an assassin, which feels a little weird. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts.
Has a place, and I think that place is Skull Comp.
Yeah.
I think Azumarill has a place on Skull Comp because you have a gigantic shield every minute. And the clear speed of that Pokemon, you take out wild Pokemon so fast because you're 1v1ing them, right? So you crit them constantly, and it's just, it's. You know what? Can we take that out? I don't want to see it.
Yeah, can we not
out?
record video on that part?
Yeah, just cut that one part.
just hit it there.
Yeah, it's funny because I had this whole thought. I think I tweeted it. I said something like, "All right, wait." I was trying to get all Da Vinci Code with it or something. I was like, "What if Azumarill comes out and becomes the new solo top meta because it's so strong at solo top, but then in response to Azumarill being solo top meta, then we see teams going back to 2-1-2 to try to counter the passive." And I was like, this could change the game. And it's like, nope, it's just Lucario.
I thought it was gonna be from Blue Dog to Blue Bunny, but it just didn't happen.
Dude.
It didn't happen.
I thought the same thing, Crashy. I had the same thought, which is this being alone is so powerful that you have to send 2 to stop it, which means both teams are going to start sending 2, which means no one plays Azumarill, but now no one plays Lucario.
It's so funny.
Listen, it didn't happen.
Listen, we as a community, we know nothing because we thought Hyperspace Hole was going to dominate the meta too, and 2-1-2's coming back, and so we know
I think
nothing.
everyone just wants 2-1-2 to come back because you can play what you want. You can play whatever you want in 2-1-2. You're so locked in 1-1-3.
We'll just play Ring. 2-1-2's the meta in Ring.
Yeah. Except when I play, if I pick Lucario in ranked, everyone leaves me and goes bot lane. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll solo top.
People usually leave me when I pick Blissey. They'll go 3 top.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'll just hang out the bottom lane by myself.
Relatable. It's because you're stacking triple glasses on Blissey, and no one wants to be there.
Yeah, well, you need the special attack specs. You really need the extra stacking on
You need
Blissey.
that attack weight on Blissey.
You do. Yeah, it needs to get stronger. Those basics can get pretty strong.
I've seen attack weight Wigglytuffs. I've seen it.
Oh, I've seen some builds. Any final thoughts on Azumarill before we move on to the rest of the game? Yeah, we're briefly talking about it competitively, which I've seen a lot of competitive play, and no one's playing it.
Yeah, I think we
just
saw.
Like another Crimson.
There was one. I can't even remember now. There was one tournament where a team ran it. I think it was like a Japanese tournament or a Korean tournament, and it was like one game, and it doesn't really have the competitive legs. But the crazy thing is, like with a lot of characters in this game, like one change or 2 changes could really put the character at the forefront of the meta. So we'll see.
I agree. A couple tweaks, and it could be really strong. We'll have to see what they do, I guess. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we do have a new season coming up very soon. I want to touch on the AOS Cup briefly. So we got to see, and I know we haven't seen all the matches from it, but we got to see a lot of play from the Japanese AOS Cup. The Korean AOS Cup has happened as well. We've got North America EU coming up next week. Lush, when is OCE? Is that also next week?
7th and 8th.
Okay, yeah. So we've got a lot of that happening next week. I think we're going to see some similar stuff to the March finals, except Duraludon has now kind of gotten knocked off its pedestal. I still see some teams running it, but Duraludon obviously is not as popular as before. I guess I'd love to hear just some of your impressions of what we have upcoming, and then, of course, maybe what you've seen. Crashy, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I think to kind of kick this off, just in general, meta-wise, the game is like super healthy. There's so much that's getting picked. We have Nemesis running Trevenant. We have like Yeet Fan pulls out Yeet Fan pulls out the lane. Decidueye, they run like a double 80 carry comp. You see Talonflame getting picked. Rin has pulled out some Blastoise jungle. Obviously, I watch a lot of NA, so but you see this new kind of like jungle splitting Japanese strategy where they're kind of like manipulating the experience a little bit or throwing things around. So there's just a lot of strategy going on. And I was actually talking with a friend about it last night. I was like, I hate that I'm about to say this, but I feel like there's so much volatility in the game that like some of your early game strategy is like up to interpretation. Like it's like if you can get through the early game doing whatever you're doing, then it doesn't actually matter what you're doing. So when it comes to like playing the meta, I'm doing air quotes by the way. When it comes to like playing the meta for like ranked, it really is like regionally interpretive, because you kind of like the reason why like so many people in NA like we play ranked and look like with a certain thought process in mind is because that's like the regional meta for NA. Like we kind of have an understanding of like what the majority of teams do in this region, so that's like what we kind of model our play after. But there is a lot of diverse meta right now. So Japanese AOS Cup, the two big things that stood out for me that I've seen mostly, and I need to go watch the final games, was the way that I've been watching Japan mold their meta over time, over long periods of time, was like all score comp, and then they started shifting into this like anti-score comp, team fight score comp, and we're still seeing a lot of that where like some of the teams will go full score comp. They want to create that win condition and lean on it to win, and other teams are trying to like shut that down, which I think that's so cool. It's so cool watching them like battle. As for the Korean games, I saw some of the weirdest builds out of the Korean games. There was like a floatstone Hoopa. I saw an energy amplifier Slowbro, which I really want to test now to just like see if can I just like do a damage build Slowbro and just like lock some. Does it just like blow someone up with the Unite move? Like I don't.
It's decent, and you usually get one more Unite game if you time it right.
Okay. Yeah, so I've definitely seen some interesting stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It's just so hard to like a blanket question people will say is like, oh, what's the best this, and honestly, like when it comes to competitive, it's like hard to answer those kinds of questions. It's the best jungler is just like based on what the teams and the regions are playing, and same thing. People will say 2-on-2, score comp versus like 1-1-3 meta. It's like I honestly don't know. I don't know which one's gonna reign supreme at Worlds, but we're getting closer, right?
No, that's very true. Like in my region, the teams are very different to how they would be in NA. Like we have Garchomp tops running around all over the place, right? We have Serena tops. We also have a lot of Lucario because
Lucario
and
so popular. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's still good. I don't know. So jungle here is like Talonflame, Charizard, Cinderace, Greninja. Is that like? I guess it's the same as NA. I guess that's pretty like.
Yeah.
I guess they're like the solid picks, and but I feel like Blissey is kind of dominating the meta right now. It is like dominating the meta right now, and it's cool. It's a cool different playstyle, right? I like that it's always a pink Pokemon. But I think that I think the meta's healthy. I think the meta's good. I would like to see, defenders be played. I think that would be cool. Like as a tank player, I'd like to see defenders be played. So there could be some love there, but I think what we're going to see a lot of in these tournaments coming up is a lot of Blissies, a lot of Lucarios, and a lot of Cinderaces. I feel like that's just like the main things we're going to see, and I think that Hoopa is still a problem.
Oh yeah,
and like the floatstone Hoopa makes sense, right? Because Hoopa wants to get somewhere to get you guys teleported there quickly. It makes sense. But yeah, I think Hoopa is really strong. I think Hoopa's really strong, and I think that I think the winning teams are likely going to have Hoopas. That's my take. That's my thought.
I think it would be super unlikely to see a team winning without Hoopa. Not only is I saw the Japanese team that won had some really cool strategies that I'd love to talk about. One of them was their Hoopa play near the end of the game, especially going up against a score comp. They recognized that it was, kind of a flip near Zap most of the time, but they had a much stronger team fight. So as Crashy was saying earlier, it was almost this anti-score comp with a little bit of score comp mixed in. They had a Cinder, Lucario, Ninetales. They were more set up to fight the enemy Dragonite, Greedent, and such. So they had Hoopa at this Zap fight, but they didn't unite at Zap. What they would do is they would either get Zap or not get Zap, base, defend, and then at the same time send Hoopa towards the enemy base and just port in and score at that point. So even when they got Zap, they would base to defend against the score comp and then Hoopa unite into the main base and score from their Zap. And seeing that, I know a lot of teams in NA don't have to deal so much with score comp, and somewhat in EU, they don't have to deal with it as much, but just seeing that strategy from Hoopa, I think there's no other Pokemon that can do so much and at the same time output 80k damage a game.
Yeah,
so
that's the crazy thing.
I just don't see a way that you don't run this Pokemon
It's insane.
and are super successful. It would be so surprising not to see Hoopa.
And Trick Plus is so unbelievably strong. It is like
Yeah.
people underestimate that lifesteal that it gives. You throw that on a carry and they just heal up to full. And
Yeah.
it's terrifying, man. It's so terrifying.
I love seeing it on a Charizard or something like that. You throw, Trick Plus on a Char, and that Char's not going anywhere forever. It's very, very cool. I think that Pokemon is the most dominant Pokemon. We'll talk a little bit later about the idea of maybe a draft or something like that. I think that would be the most banned Pokemon competitively would be Hoopa, unless both teams did not ban it because they simply both wanted to play Hoopa. I think that Pokemon would just be number one. Talking a little bit about Japan, man, the team that won the Japanese Eos Cup, their strategy is so cool. As Crashy mentioned earlier, they have this split through their center area. So they get Ninetales heading top with Hoopa, which is one of the most brutal paths in the entire game. And they split their buffs in the central area. So you've kind of got Ninetales walking into path as Ninetales right when the game starts, which is really, really mean. And then sending into the bottom path, I can't remember what they had. It was maybe Lucario and something else. But either way, yeah, they changed their early game. And it seemed to actually, it seemed to really help them early. And then later they had super strong team fight. They had, it was Cinder. Cinder was the other one that they sent to the bottom. So they had a Cinder fighting in the bottom. It really crippled this score comp they were going up against. I mean, they made them look silly in most of their games. It was a great team fight, but they were also really heavy on scoring like a lot of the Japanese teams are. When I saw it, I thought, wow, this one team could have a ripple effect changing all other metas because it was so impressive. I can't wait to see if a team tries to take that strategy into one of the other regions, especially a team like Random Gaming from EU, who was already doing a bit of a split central area with their Sylveon. I can't wait to see what teams try to do maybe with Ninetales using that strategy. It was really good.
So I kind of have this thought process about score comp and the way that score comp operates. I feel like score comp is not actually a good strategy. And let me explain. It's only a good strategy because it creates a win condition, but creating that win condition is kind of like, it's like a technicality of like the way that this game is designed that forces the game to end. And it's like the only MOBA that's played for score. So like there are these mechanics that are in the game that are cheesable because you can do like Buddy Barrier score shield. You can do like Wiggly Unite move and you can force these win conditions. But if you were to like, let's say there were no goals in the game, there were towers. I mean, obviously score comp wouldn't work, but those team comps, just think of the comp. It doesn't work. It's not a good team comp. It's just it's good at cheesing the mechanics that are there that are built to win the game. So if you find one team, and we may be seeing it now, that can find a way to slow that down and break that down, you're right. It could create this big wave where it's like the Japanese and the Eastern teams might be like, do we keep running score comp? Like, do we just like if it becomes consistent enough? And here's the cool part: if other regions start seeing this score comp like breakdown, then they just adopt that play style themselves as well, and they like are prepared to beat score comp. So score comp has always been this like cheese strategy that works really, really well, but it's I don't know how long it's gonna hold up, but it's also notoriously like it's been good forever. Like score comp's never not been good. It's still good. So it's just interesting.
I think if anything, it'll create a cycle, right? A meta cycle, and that'll be the first one we'll see where this team that's like a half score comp, half team fight comp could phase out score comp, right? But then to beat this team, people go back to playing regular team fight comps. And then to beat the regular team fight comps, people go back to score comp. You know what I mean? I could see an actual cycle start happening, which would be really cool. We see that in a lot of games, and we haven't seen that in this one just yet.
Well, it's funny because like if you look at like say Western meta in general, you'll find a lot of NA teams. Again, these are the teams that I keep my eyes on the most. You'll find a lot of NA teams that have, by and large, dropped a lot of their score shields because you want like your slow bro to have like choice specs, or you want your Lucario to be triple damage items, or the jungler you're running isn't running it, and like then the lane attacker usually doesn't have it. And so it's funny because Score Shield has always been held in like such high regard, and then it started phasing out. But then when you start playing these comps and these builds versus score comp, then you start realizing, well, you might need the Score Shield. So then it like feels like that could maybe get reintroduced into the meta. And so it's just really bizarre. I don't know if it's just so bizarre how different regionally the game is played. And every time, I think we've said this in a previous episode, like we're inching closer to Worlds, and I honestly don't know what region's stronger. Like people ask, and I don't know.
It's so different.
I just don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying OCE. I don't know. I feel like I hear people whispering that.
It's like in the wind. Yeah, it's in the wind.
The score comp is so interesting because you're right. It's cheese. It reminds me of Zerg rushing in StarCraft for us people who played old real-time strategy games and stuff. It reminds me of these strategies that you would see and go, oh my, I can't believe they started building towers near my base. So dumb, but it actually worked because no one expected it to work. You're right. It's cheesing the meta. It's cheesing the win condition of the game. It's almost like a real basketball team playing up against the Globetrotters, for anyone who knows the Harlem Globetrotters. And they're like, I guess they're bouncing basketballs off our heads. Can you do that? They don't expect it. But you're right. Once this team shuts it down, then we can see the cycle start. NA is very stagnant, I think, as far as how they play. You're right. They've dropped score shields because people walk by each other and go score. But if another team's not letting them do that, you're going to have to change that up a little bit. So it's going to be really cool to see, hopefully, that cycle take place, because that's one of the most exciting places a game can be when things start to feel like they're actually countering other strategies, which is probably one of the coolest things we saw in the March finals, at least in NA, was someone countering the dominant Duraludon strategy. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I think seeing things like Decidueye to counter Duraludon feels like seeing this team fight score comp counter the real score comp, and hopefully that starts to breed new exciting meta choices. It could be really cool to see.
It would be really cool. I want to change.
We're coming up on a new season, boys, in just a couple days here. Depending on when this is out, maybe the next day, depending on when this is out. And we have some downtime coming up for the game, which, as always, could mean a little, could mean a lot. We had the winter downtime, if you've been with the game for a little while, back in, it was early December, and they had a huge change to the game. They changed the map, they changed the center fight around Zapdos became Articuno, and a lot of it felt like a skin at times, but there were also actual mechanical changes inside the game around that point. I don't know if we're going to see something like that, but there are a ton of exciting things that could be coming to the game, and I think this would be a good time for us to just kind of throw out a lot of our theories and wish list stuff.
You guys doing the climb? You can do the rank climb on our reset?
Yeah, I'll do the climb. I don't know how hard I'm gonna send on it. I'll give my honest thoughts. Depending on what all changes will probably depend on like how invested I am on day one. I mean, I'm always going to be invested in the game. But like if there's a bunch of changes, then I might be like super, super excited about it. If there's some changes, then, we'll see. But I think that the implication of downtime is nothing but a good thing regardless. And it's just because like downtime implies that like they're probably putting like a some kind of a patch in, even if it's not necessarily a balance patch. But there are probably going to be files that go into the game. So some things we can expect are like leaks potentially, like hours before the servers go live. The downtime is like 7 hours, 8 hours, something like that. Like it's a pretty sizable downtime. So speaking on the technical end, I don't actually know what happens. Like I don't understand why they take servers down to patch games. I really don't know. I just assume you have to like put the files in and pull everybody off the game so that way the game servers can take the files and then they can access them. Again, I don't really know the technical side too much, but
makes sense. We'll go with that.
Yeah, exactly. It's something to that nature. Somewhere in there.
Leave a comment.
Yeah. If you work in game dev, let us know. But But yeah, the implications are good. There should be some content drops. Like we'll obviously see a new battle pass because that's timed up. We'll see maybe some system changes, new characters that could be in the game files, or a bunch of new skins and cosmetics and things. So there should be at minimum a lot to talk about pretty early on. But yeah, like you said, like wish list items for me, biggest ones are just like I would love to see some kind of rank changes. Whether it's solo duo, leaderboard changes, even something as simple as like I'm like 2100 on my account right now, and like I'm still not even top 10k ranked. It's like just like show more of those numbers, or regional leaderboards. There's so many like little things that I would love to see that would kind of like incentivize like the grind a little bit. Mainly just like rank changes, solo duo, stuff like that. I think would be really, really fun. But like event stuff too, I think is good. Like I've been kind of talking about the idea of them doing like a PvE mode for a long time, just to kind of like give some interest to the game. Do something different would be cool.
That'd be cool. I would like to see them implement green ping. I've heard about it. I haven't really seen it, but I've heard stories, and I'm hoping we get that sometime soon. It's weird that you're not in like the top 10,000, 2,100, because I think one of my accounts is in like 2,300 is like top 1,500. So it's only a couple hundred.
Such a massive drop off, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a massive drop off. Yeah, I would like to see a few changes. I'm not expecting big changes. Normally the seasons come out kind of dry, and then we get like a couple things maybe a few days later. Which would be cool. Maybe a bit of a balance patch, a bit of a meta shift. Probably won't be anything big before EOS, right? I'm assuming they won't do any drastic changes that close, since they've already played one of them. It might get a bit weird. But yeah, I'm looking forward to new season. I'm going to be playing with the team. We're going to be doing like the climb, and I'm probably going to do a 12-hour stream. That should be fun. But we're gonna do the whole climb. We did it last time. We got to rank 1, and this time we'll see. We'll see if we do it. I kind of want to just like close my eyes, wake up in a new season, and everything's different. A whole new map, maybe a Moltres in the middle. Like I just want to see like everything change, but I'm setting the expectations a little low, and I'm just gonna enjoy the climb. I think that's what I'm looking at for it. I think biggest wish list, green ping, number 1, and number 2. I would love to see a new map because I kind of missed the winter map. It made the game just feel really fresh. It made it feel really fresh. I don't think we'll be getting anything like that. I feel like there would have been a teaser already, right? And a buff to Lucario. They're the 3 things that I want to see in the next season. And
I just think
nerf to Cramorant.
I was going to say, if they don't nerf Cram, this egregiously overpowered character,
we need to see a nerf to Cramorant because it's getting out of hand. This thing's getting out. This bird is just dominating the meta in every region. And it's walking up the lane and everyone's just surrendering, and we've just got to stop it.
It's frustrating to deal with because its Unite move is so impactful. So
it's
you'll be in a fight and then you're like, well, I can't do anything. Cramorant United, It's not like
exactly.
we can just jump in and KO it or something. It's essentially invincible. And
it's walking around eating Pikachus. Like, come on.
Yeah, and you're right. It's pretty grotesque in that sense as well.
Yeah.
I think a new season, there's always the hope that it's going to just be like the winter update and be completely different. But given that they have not done a lot of the AOS Cup, I would be shocked if we had Japan, Korea AOS Cup look like this. And then we have all the other AOS Cups with Moltres in the middle.
To play on the regular map, right?
That's true. That's true, actually. They could do something like that. But I think because of their tournament schedule, they have been updating the game a little bit differently. Every time they update the game, something breaks. Clearly, there are just so many working parts inside this game. So they update it. They nerf Cram. Of course, it needs to be nerfed. But then all of a sudden, Hoopa is invincible after it uses its Unite move. Things like that just always pop up inside the game. So they need enough time to fix it before a tournament would come out. And I think because of that, it's really unlikely we see too many balance changes. Although there are some changes, like Crashy said, that maybe aren't even balance-wise, but around matchmaking, around how they put the rank system together. They clearly had a bigger emphasis around your rank this season. You got the rewards for ranking up. Once you got to 1800, you got the little sticker or whatever, which is something that Crashy and I have been talking about for a really long time. Would be cool to get those, rewards as you continue to climb. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some ranked updates coming pretty soon. And, a little while back, I think it was in maybe the Duraludon teaser video, the UI is slightly different in that in the in-game user interface, you see the mini-map is different. You kind of see the size of characters on the map look different. So there is a different UI. I don't know if you call it UI, but there's a different something going on inside that game. And I wonder if they're going to implement that in this patch. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see that.
Yeah,
that
it was
cool.
It was a while back. What it was is like, you know how like if you think about it now and just like try to put yourself in that setting, when you're looking at the map and like, especially for me as a jungler, I'll be like, who's your lane? I can't see because they're covering each other up. Like I literally can't tell who's in the lane. The pictures are massive. In one of the trailers or like the footage that we saw, the icons they were big, and as they got close to each other, they got small.
Yeah.
And so it's like they collapse. And I remember seeing that. And I was like, oh, that's such a good change. And then it never happened. I was like, what happened? I was like, so yeah, that change, presumably it's so funny because you never really know how things operate, but there's presumably like a pipeline of things that they're constantly working on and like kind of scheduling and patching and getting, appropriately placed for their release, and that might have been a feature that just like, hey, we tried to package it in and it just broke every time they tried to use it. So you never know what takes them time to get things truly ready. But yeah, I do think that like system changes and just like some systemic like changes like about what the game is are probably some of the biggest things I'm looking forward to or hopeful for. Because I think that's what kind of gives the game a lot of longevity for certain types of players. And the achievement system, when that came out, I was really, really excited about it. I would like to see them expand on that a little bit more and add like different types of achievements. I was talking recently about how I think that they should have achievements that are ranked geared and achievements that are standard geared. So it kind of like creates, the incentive to play like in certain ways, I guess.
Quick battle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine too. I'm not gonna lie, I forget that quick battle exists a lot. You did bring up like a new map. I want to see like a new release map. Now, I think that creating a new game mode, that the scope of work that takes is a little bit more. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get like a new map all the time, or like honestly, it comes down to design philosophy. We may never get a new map. You never really know what they want. But like the 1 year anniversary, who knows? They gotta do something big, right? So you just never really know like what's around the corner, and I'm just hoping for some bigger changes at some point. Maybe, and if not this update, a future update. But it is kind of interesting. We're coming up on like 3 weeks since Azumarill. We have like the end of a battle pass and a season. I really do wish they would package that all up into like massive season drop, but they don't really seem to do that. And I think it's a little bit of like a marketing missed opportunity, because they could really like like Pokemon Unite Season 4, new character comes out, new this, new that, and like really like blow it up, but they don't really seem to take that approach.
Yeah, can we all collectively agree on one thing that is going to change? The event menu.
Oh yeah. They change it like every patch. Yeah,
it's so gonna change. There's no way it's not gonna change.
Maybe they're just trying to figure out a way for it to work on Switch, because it is tough. On Switch, the event menu, it can't handle it. The Switch just can't handle it. They're always trying to figure out a way to get it to work. I totally agree with you, by the way, Crashy. I do feel like from a marketing perspective, it would be nice to have a big push around changes like new battle pass, new season, new Pokemon, Delphox just dropped. You heard it? You heard the leaks? Well, it's here today. Kind of like Hoopa, where Hoopa just came out of nowhere.
That was a really cool one.
Yeah, that was so out of nowhere.
I loved
it.
They
were like donuts, and I was like, donuts?
Yeah.
It was so random.
They were like donuts. It's Hoopa.
Yeah, like
welcome to Pokemon Unite. Come in and get a hat.
Just to like kind of contrast to like another live service game I play, like Apex Legends. They're like current. They do a season, but they do a season in splits. So you have like the first season, part 1, and then season 2, or like the split 2. And so like the first split will be played on like one map, and they already have like a few maps in the game, but they play the first split on one map, and then ranked will kind of like reset or like soft reset, and then you go into split 2, or like the second split, and you play on a different map. So that split's ending right now, or the second split's ending, so the season is ending, and we're going into season 13, and they just dropped a trailer like yesterday, I think, or the day before, and it's like, you know, like season 13, it like, they had like this cinematic trailer, right? So they do a cinematic trailer, and they announce a new character, so it's like, okay, new character coming to the game, and there's got some lore and backstory there, and so it's like, all right, cool, new character. Then they have some giant monster come out of the water, and everybody's like, is this a PvE event? Is this going to be some in-game event that happens in the middle of the battle royale? And then presumably either the map is changing or it's like a whole new map. We don't know. So it's like there's just such a like, oh my god, like season 13, like holy hell, you know what I mean? Like when I look at that compared to like how Unite kind of does their like, hey, new season, you know what I mean? So it just like it feels like less impactful. Like I said, I think from that marketing perspective, like creating like because the game it's a live service game, but it is a product, right? Creating like a nice packaged product and like putting it on the shelf and saying like dangling it in front of people, like this is why you want to come back. Like that would be like a really cool thing to see them do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think they kind of did it. They did it around the winter event. And I think with Hoopa, they had a nice surprise with Hoopa. Log into the game now. You get this Pokemon Day hat. Everyone gets this character for free. I think they've done a few things around that are pretty cool. But I agree. I would love a big push like that. I would love for them to, you know, tease a Pokemon in a way where everyone goes, oh, that's Altaria. I know it's Altaria. It's coming on Friday, but they didn't say, but we saw it. And, you know, there's all these changes. It looked like it flew by a Zubat. What's happening? I would love things like that to happen in Unite, but that's clearly not the marketing strategy they want to take. I do think most of the time they have a reset of the new season, and it's a new battle pass. And then a week later, it's a new Pokemon. And then a week later, it's the balance patch. It feels like it should all come at once, but they like the trickle of it, I think. They just kind of like going piece by piece.
Something new every week, I guess, right? It's an interesting approach. I would love it even if they were just like, new season coming out with a new speedster, but they say nothing. You know, they say nothing, and like now I'm hyped for the season.
That like wanted board or whatever, I think even stuff like that is like great. Like where it's like great. This is going to be like what you can expect. Kind of, it's like a pseudo roadmap because it's not like an official. Hey, this is what we have planned. Thank you for playing Pokemon Unite. It's like this is what we have planned. Good. Yeah, thank you.
You've been practicing this.
Very good. No, but you're right. I love that. I thought that was so.
It was good.
Smart. Yeah. It lets people know, hey, we have some things planned. You don't know exactly what they are yet, but it gets people talking about it. Yeah, I loved that as well. I thought that wanted poster was great.
The amount of like people taking those posters and like, I zoomed it in and tilted it 40 degrees. Like, it's like, I look at that and I'm like, listen, if you can find something, that's great. But like, I really doubt it. They're like, no, you can see the blur. I know what's in there. It's like, okay.
There's always that one guy. There's always the one guy.
It is fun when you see it too, because I had one person in my Discord look at the wanted poster and go, that's Duraludon. And everyone's like, yeah,
dude, yeah, like,
that's Duraludon. And they were so right. Everyone else had a million guesses.
Let me ask you this one. Were they actually right, or was it just dumb coincidence? Because there's a lot of Pokemon. Like, could they really tell? Like,
there aren't that many Pokemon. There's only like 1,000 of them. It's not that many. Not many Pokemon.
There's none. I don't know how they even think of characters to add to this game.
It's hard. I would love it if they created a new Pokemon. People would riot. Like, there's so many of them. They're creating their
own
Unite
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Gen 9 Pokemon in Unite.
No, okay,
now.
Listen. So you know how we talked about at one point about how cool it would be to see them do like a BDSP or an Arceus tie-in. First of all, they should definitely do that because it's just free cross-promotion and marketing for their own IP. But do you know how crazy, because they haven't been doing that, they've set the precedent that they haven't been doing that, it would be if like Gen 9 drops and then like Fuecoco hits the game? Or what if they drop like all three of the starters as playable characters? Oh, that'd be so cool. Like I think that like
the fact that Crush knows the name of the starters for Gen 9.
Well, I only know the fire one. It's the only one I know. You know what I like, my message to like the Pokemon universe, like if they ever did stumble upon this and watch it, like when it comes to Unite and like the IP and like making decisions for characters, like the best thing I can say is just like dare to be bold sometimes. Dare to be bold, because I would love to see some crazy month where they drop 2 Pokemon at once. I would love to see some crazy
one day.
Dude, I'm telling you, I had the other idea. I don't remember when I brought this up at one point. The other idea is like whatever the current like anime show is going on, how crazy would it be if they did an episode of Unite where they go to the stadium and play the game?
That
like,
would be really cool.
Like, dude, there's so much.
That would be so cool.
There's so much lore and IP and stuff that I don't even understand that I would love to see them like get the interconnectivity, you know?
Just
like,
imagine one day just waking up, getting on Unite, and every Pokemon's in the game.
that's
I
a
don't
bit
know what
much.
I do. I can't.
Well, we
I
already
don't know if I can
established there's not
handle
that many,
making
so I don't-
that many guides. I mean, oh god.
You'd have day one. You'd have a guide for all of them, guaranteed.
Jake's
wouldn't
just
be
got
too
like the biggest eye bags. He's like, "Hello, it's your favorite content."
Is he content cowboy here? Body barrier, focus band, muscle band.
On all of them. On all of them.
Use the muscle band. Yeah, I think it would be. I think it would be awesome to see them do more things like that, though. To me, and we have talked about this. The idea that a new gen comes out, if you released even one, but I agree with Crashy, bring them to the game. Like, what a celebration for Unite it would be to go all 3 starters from the new game are in Unite. I mean, it would just be crazy. I understand that this game is clearly in its infancy. This is the first game like this the company's done. I think they're being very careful about how they are stepping through this and figuring it out. Even evidenced by how they're doing the tournaments. They go, all right, we're going to do a tournament. And they're going, okay, we're going to add some more regions. All right, we'll add some broadcasts for it. Okay, we'll try that. Like, I think they're really just slowly stepping through this process. But I agree with so much in the Pokemon world, for you not to tie it in a little bit just feels like such a missed opportunity. I wish I could be in a room and just say, just bring Quaxley to the game at the same time. Just see what happens, because I think people would lose it.
Yeah, I think they have to be careful though, because if they release all 3 starters, they're gonna start running out of Pokemon. Like, they've really got to take their time and slow it down. You know, they can't put 3 in at once. There's only so many.
I feel like
a
I
couple
can
more EVs, and then we'll see about.
Yeah, we need Ditto. Give me Ditto.
I feel like I can look back at games I've played and always like identify like the golden age, right? Like the golden era of like a game. I don't know why, but I feel like year 2 of Unite will be this game's golden age. Like it's like the game stepped out of its infancy. Now they got a full year behind them to see what worked, what didn't work, what they want to try. And then like year 2 will be, I'm hoping will be their big, like, this is the game that we were building all along kind of thing. And not to say that year 3 couldn't be good or anything, but I think that like year 2 is going to be like the year where we start seeing them like maybe take a little risk. And I don't know if risk is the right word, but like, for lack of a better word, take a little bit risk and do some stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I know that we do have some potential leaks. I don't know if y'all want to touch on those, like some things that could be.
I agree with you, and I think I'll have more of an influence in year 2 because I'll be a world champion, and it'll just be a lot easier.
That'll be
for me to get in touch
you.
with them about things.
That's good.
Yeah. They always want to talk to the world champion. They're like, look, we're gonna release this Pokemon. Talk to the world champion first. Let's see what Lush has to say about it.
No one take me seriously, please.
I would kind of love it if they did that, almost like the Hunger Games or whatever. You know,
we
get
don't,
like
we don't
some
need
real
that.
prestige. No, everybody does. Okay, if you don't win, you die.
We don't need that.
Yeah, we could talk about some of the potential leaks or some of the potential things coming to Unite that have been sort of leaked. So if you're not interested in hearing something that is a possible spoiler, you can tune out now, even though I did touch on one of them briefly earlier. We have a few Pokemon that have been quasi-leaked, but we have no real info, which are Buzzwole, Delphox, Glaceon, and Espeon, I believe are the 4 that have been talked about. I haven't heard much else, but yeah, we can talk about those 4 right now. I would love, just bring one of them as a Speedster right away. Like, let's do Speedster immediately. I think that would be great. I think it'd be either Buzzwole or maybe
any of them
Espeon.
as a Speedster.
Buzzwole. So listen, the way that they do like their characters, Well, that's the thing. I actually, the more and more I look at Unite and the way that the Pokemon are designed, dude, some of these characters could literally be anything. Yes. Like when I think of when I think of Gengar, I don't really think Speedster at all. But that's just like what I think of it now, right? But like if I would have ever looked at Gengar, I probably would have thought like Attacker, maybe. But so I think you look at something like Buzzwole, and like naturally the silhouette to me feels all-rounder or defender. But and I don't know what the characters do, so it's always a little hard for me to pull context from main series games. But I do think that like a lot of the look of the character is actually less relevant than just like a subjective view of how they want the character to play. So that's a really cool thing that this game has, is that they have like a ton of IP to pull from, but that they can do it in their own way, their own vision. So that's really, really cool. I feel like Speedsters, honestly, they might be hard to make.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe that's why we just haven't seen a ton of them.
We
might
need
be
more dogs.
Yeah, like like all the four-legged Pokemon's like no more four-legged attackers. Like stop that. So yeah, but like Buzzwole is a super weird Pokemon because it's like not really a Pokemon. And I remember like our friend Kipsone had like shown Buzzwole to me like a long time ago, and I like looked into the Pokemon because I was like, this is a weird looking Pokemon, and it's like it does like a pose like every time it like attacks or something, and I'd be like, how funny would that be if they build that in? Like the passive is like no. Like,
I love Buzzwole. It's terrifying. Imagine a jacked mosquito. That's terrifying.
It is scary.
I don't want.
Isn't
it to
he
be
like
real,
super red too?
Is he just shiny? It's got like random neon green.
Well, like okay, so this is a listen, Pokemon Company. I'm so sorry to expose you. But does that just mean he's just like full of blood? Like he just drank all the blood, and now he's just like super red.
I think he drinks his own blood.
What?
This podcast is over. If we can't.
Are we video recording right now? Like
you're exposing too much. I think something that you said, Crashy, that I think is 100% right. I think they go way more based off vibe than mainline games. So things are kind of with the games. Like Gengar is extremely fast in mainline games, and it is a speedster, so it does make sense. But at the same time, I think this game, it really gives them license to go off vibe. And if they just say, no, the vibe of this Pokemon for us is all-rounder. The vibe of this Pokemon is speedster, because you could kind of make arguments for different Pokemon. You could say, no, that could easily be an all-rounder. Why is that a defender? That could easily be an attacker. Why did it end up being an all-rounder? So I think they go heavily based off vibe, and I do think they could take any Pokemon and go, yeah, it's a speedster. It's how it operates in this game. It is a speedster. So we'll see what they do with that.
Yeah, and they could like throw anything into like the support category too, right? Like they could just throw things wherever they want. Like Glaceon, right? Could be a support.
Totally.
Shouldn't be. Could be. Buzzwole could be a support.
Shouldn't
lend you
be.
blood.
Yeah, take this blood. I'm full of blood. We also have the supposed possible leak of.
Should you close the window because you're letting in a bit of a draft?
Wait, why don't I understand what's happening? What do you mean?
That was a dad joke. That was a bad
was
joke.
A dad joke.
Should you close the window because you're letting in a bit of a draft, Lush?
Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't even understand it. I hate it. This podcast is over. Are we recording video? Shut it down.
Can't believe you didn't get that one. I'm disappointed.
No, because I thought you were referencing leak, and I went, letting in a draft, is that like a leaky window situation?
A leaky window.
Yes. We've talked, there's a possibility of a draft coming to Unite. For whatever reason, I feel like there's no way. I don't know why, I just feel like there's no way. I would love it, but it just doesn't compute to me that they're going to put a draft into the game right now. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. And of course I would love to see it because it would be a really cool way to change the meta, even just solo, duo queue, stuff like that.
Okay, so look, I feel like we have to set the stage. So there, at least for me, there are like two pretty credible leakers. And the main leaker that I basically look at everything for is El Chico Eevee. Now, El Chico Eevee has done a little bit of trolling. That said, the couple of times that El Chico Eevee has done trolling has been like like it was like a kind of like pseudo April Fools like for his region or like his country. So like what I don't know what it is. I'm sorry if I'm misspeaking.
It was
and
their
then it was
April Fool's meta.
Yeah,
it was different from our April.
Yeah, and then it was like the normal April Fools. So I'm down. I can take that, right? Like I could totally take it. I dished out a good April Fool's one. I was happy with it. Good times. But 90, I swear it's like 95+% of what El Chico Eevee says, leaks, talks about is true, comes to fruition every single time. So when El Chico Eevee says, "Oh, it looks like a draft mode's coming," it's hard. Everything has to be taken with a grain of salt. That's just how leaking works. We have to know that as the standard. It's hard not to imagine it's coming, but there wasn't like a shown thing. There wasn't like a line of code. There wasn't like a UI element that indicated a ban was coming or a draft was coming. So there's just no way to know for sure. It's weird. I don't think that he would want to intentionally tarnish his reputation, but I would, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be a little skeptical, but again, grain of salt. But it's definitely the thing that I'm potentially most excited for, because the implications of a draft mode are huge for competitive, for ranked play. It'll increase the skill ceiling of the game to a certain degree. It just shakes things up.
Game-changing thing that the game has seen. It will be crazy. And I'm sure we've heard like little whispers through the grapevine, right? Like, of little things about it and here and there, and it's what was that?
OCE. I just keep hearing you whisper.
OC.
It's a great place, by the way, OCE. Oki. Yeah, so we've all heard like little whispers, I'm sure. And look, I really want draft mode, right? I want it to be true so bad that I'm like, yeah, no, it's coming. It's coming. Has to be. But we don't know. It could even be in the game right now, and they won't unlock it for like 4 years. We don't know. We don't know what they're going to do, right? But I think it would be really, really amazing, and it would change the game in so many ways, and people would not play Lucario. And it's just a world that I've always dreamed of. It's a world I've always dreamed of.
I think it would be... I think it would be really cool. I just... For whatever reason, it just doesn't strike me as something that at least is not coming to a majority of the game.
From me.
Oh, sorry. You think they're going to get rid of Lucario? He's getting a buff. So I think if anything, maybe they put it in that championship series mode, which would be really cool. Maybe if they have the rest of the tournaments moving forward is going to have that. I just, for whatever reason, I can't imagine it coming to the main ranked mode of the game. But again, I would love to see it. I would love to see so many of these things. I would love to see a solo duo queue, 5-stack queue, draft mode. I would love to see all this stuff. It feels like maybe one of those things where, as Crashy mentioned earlier, maybe this is a year 2 thing where they go, all right, we did it all. We did our tournament. We had worlds. Year 2, we're changing it up. There's going to be a lot more, a lot of things that you expect more from a MOBA in year 2. I don't know.
That could be really likely.
I mean, we're only like 3 or 4 months away from stepping into year 2. And there's nothing that says that draft mode is going to come out this patch, although it kind of feels like it could if it was going to happen, since it's like kind of being talked about already, and since this patch has like a downtime, which usually implies that there's some big things coming. It's just so weird. It's so weird. A part of me feels like I'm overly excited about it, so I'm really like all in on this one thing. Like I really want it to happen so badly, but I gotta get this off my chest. I don't know why some people call me toxic and negative. It's really weird. I haven't quite figured that one out. If they add draft to tournament mode and not to ranked, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna blow a gap. I'm going to explode like a nuclear bomb. Please don't do this to me. Please don't add something that's only for 5 stacks again. Like, so much of this game is geared for 5 stacking, and that's great, right? Like, that's cool. Bingo.
Share the love.
But there's a lot of us that don't play the game that way, and so please do not do that. I would be very disappointed.
The only thing that could hurt me with the draft mode is something they'll probably do, is if you try to ban Lucario, and Lucario just like, no.
No, Lucario actually bans you.
Yeah, the car is like, no, you can't play. Get out.
Yeah, like it actually kicks you out of the game. It puts you in spectator mode on the 2-minute delay, and then the bot just plays.
Yeah, I could see it. Like this sounds so unrealistic. I could see it.
Yeah, no, it's not impossible. You know, they have
They
to
might
do something
auto-ban
to keep
Kramer.
Lucario around. Yeah. It might just instant ban Cram every time. It's like, look, there's a bug in the game. We're working on it. It bans Cram, but soon we'll have a draft mode that doesn't do that. I one of the things that I've always thought would be the hardest thing about them having a draft mode is you have all of these Pokemon that people want to play, and you have these, you know, elaborate costumes where you're paying $40 for HoloWare, and then you enter a match and they go banned. I think there's something about that for a huge portion of their audience that I think they don't want to incorporate. So that's why if they had a draft mode, which again I would love, I think it would probably come to the championship mode first, and we wouldn't see it in regular play. But who knows? Who knows?
See, that's where like I think that like people need to take a step away from Pokemon IP and Unite and remember that this game at its core like is a MOBA, and there are some things that I think that are just like necessary to MOBAs. And even I'm not saying draft is a necessity, but it's a really good implementation that like every other MOBA that's ever been made has. And so when people say like, oh, I don't know, I'm just not really a fan of the idea of like Pokemon being banned, it's like, but it's a MOBA, you know what I mean? Like or like a team battle or whatever they call it. So like it's weird. Like I do get the sentiment of like, oh, do we really want to restrict people? Like, how is that good for the game? And it's like, from the sentiment of like just wanting to play what you want to play, I totally agree. And there should always, this is a thing that I think is super important, there should always be a mode where you can escape that. Like if you want to play whatever you want to play, like standard's a great way to do that. But when it comes to like a ranked playlist, whether it's the rank system itself, the way the points are dished out, the matchmaking, rank should always lean into as much of a competitive environment as possible, and should lean heavily on competitive integrity. And draft is really good for giving the player base agency over controlling the meta, creating strategies, raising the skill ceiling of the game. I said that earlier. Draft raises the skill ceiling of the game because it forces people to not one-trick things. It forces people to, oh, well, they did this, I need to do this. Oh, well, they banned this, I need to think about getting this. It really does change the game in a way that is only healthy for the player base to improve. And yeah, so I kind of like, I dare anyone that kind of thinks like, oh, I don't see how banning could be good for the game. I kind of dare you to see why it could be, because I think that it could do a lot of good for, at minimum, that like one ranked playlist. If it does come to tournament mode, that would hopefully just be them testing it first, but I'll still just be so disappointed. I just want to play with it. I think it would be so fun to counterpick, to just counterpick something. Once it would be nice.
Yeah, to have a reason to use an assault vest.
Yeah.
To go, hey, actually, this is a good situation for me to use this item. Look, I'm totally with you. I would love to have it in the game. I just imagine all these reasons that they might not put it in. But you're right. I mean, it's coming from the most credible source around the, Pokemon Unite leaks. So I think there's definitely a possibility. I would love to see it. I just... I don't know why, but I just, something inside me is going, no way they put it in right
part of me feels that way too, and I'm scared.
You guys need to throw those parts of you away so I can enjoy this, okay?
Yeah, I want it so bad, man. I actually don't think that there's been anything that they've talked about like that is more exciting to me.
Do you guys know El Chico EV well? Can you at least ask if green ping is leaked? Please.
I did ask earlier. He says
I get green ping. I don't know what you're talking about.
Look, I feel like you guys will just lie to me at this point. I feel like everyone just lies to me.
It's coming, man. Oh yeah, he said it's coming. I'm trying to think if there was anything else around the new season that we wanted to talk about. I mean, obviously rank changes. I would love more achievements. Crashy mentioned this earlier. I like the achievement system in the game. I think give us more of that. The UI fixes, new Pokemon, of course, a roadmap, a new map. All of that stuff would be really exciting. Yeah, new event menu.
I'd love to see. So you know how they have like the ranked rewards? I'd love to see them expand on that a little bit. I mean, granted, a kind of an issue that I have with the ranked rewards is mostly the rank system itself. Like I don't actually think getting 1800 is very hard. It takes a lot of time if you're not, the best, most winningest player. But I do think that there's a layer of like, we should be comfortable knowing that like not everybody's going to hit the highest rank. Sometimes that's kind of how rank systems usually work in most games. So I would love to see them add like a nice reward for like hitting 2K. Because then it would like, because what ends up happening now is like the grind to 1800, it can be steep at times. But people will hit 1800 and they'll be like, oh yeah, I just kind of stopped playing, got my reward or whatever, stop playing. So I'd like to see them expand on that. Like, I don't know what it could be because I don't want them to up the bar so much that like the best thing is super hard to obtain and then that
we
like,
don't
is
need
off-putting.
3K rewards. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, 3K
3K
rewards at this point are 5-stack rewards. You know, it's basically impossible to climb to like 2300 solo. I think the highest I've ever seen is Chris at like 2260 something, that's insane to be completely honest. But I wouldn't mind seeing like a 2K reward or just seeing like some kind of expanding on that. Because I like the idea of like seasonal exclusive rewards and them adding it this last season was super surprising. So I still love that. I love that. I hope to see them continue that, which I think that now that they put it in the game, they probably will always do that. But yeah, good thing there. Achievements, matchmaking change. I think something even as simple as like I said, like the global leaderboard like reads like 10K players. Like, dude, let it read like all of Masters. I don't know. I don't like technically like from the technical standpoint. I don't know how hard it is to have like a database that's being accessed like live with these shifting numbers. I don't know how hard that is, but if they could access more than 10K, that would be cool. Cause I could be like, oh, world rank 250,000. And even that sometimes could be enough of an incentive to be like, oh, well, let's try to get top 100K. And then you know what they could do too? It could say like world rank 250K and then be like, 5 percentile. You know what I mean? Like, give some context to the players and like give them that thing to look at and then the thing to go after. Like that's a big allure to like ranked modes and like grinding games for me is like the me want bigger number. You know what I mean? Like gotta go caveman on.
I haven't cared about the number in so long.
Yeah.
In so long.
Yeah. It's not super relevant because you know how to increase it if you want. If you want your number to go down, play solo. If you want it to go up, play with more and more people. I mean, that's just kind of the basics.
You want it to go down, you play Lucario. You want it to go up, you play Cramorant.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the balance patches tell us.
Yeah.
And see, this is why like
either way,
it's funny because I'll talk a lot about like ranked and matchmaking and stuff, but I actually think the best thing they could if I had a genie and the genie popped out and he hit me with one wish, just one, the first thing I would add is solo duo ladder because the solo duo ladder at
in
minimum
your entire life, that's the one thing.
Yeah, can you imagine if the genie was like, no, I meant anything, but
it's a unite genie. He's a unite genie only. I don't know how to make this make sense.
How about you wish for me to be world champion, like a good friend?
No.
You're going to get that anyway, man. He doesn't need to waste the wish.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
That's just
Solo
how
duo
much
ladder.
confidence I have.
They need to wish for things that are inevitable, I guess, yeah.
No, but seriously, I actually do think if I could change one thing and one thing only, it would be a solo duo ladder. But the main reason why is because like even if the rank system's not the best, even if the matchmaking's not the best, even if the rewards aren't the best, solo duo ladder gives me something to grind for. So like that alone is like, man, I'm really pulling for that at some point. Really pulling for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. A lot more people pushed to 1800 this season because of the rewards as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think them upping it, like Crashy said, let's give a stretch goal. Maybe it's 1900 this next time. Maybe it's 2000 or so. You can still get there. I kind of like that they had that 1800 thing because it did force a lot of players to keep pushing and keep playing who maybe didn't have the most stellar win rate, and they're still learning the game. But one of the biggest things about MOBAs, all of us have played MOBAs for you. Luch, have you played a lot of MOBAs as well? I can't remember.
I've played Smite for like half a decade. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we've all played other MOBAs for a long time. So coming to this game, we're very familiar with how they work and we understand everything about it, essentially, without all the nuances of Unite. But there's so many people who have never played it before. So more reasons for them just to play a ton of games, even if their win rate's low. Play a ton of games. Hopefully they can start to learn how to get better and better and better at this. You need a lot of time because the first MOBA I played, I don't think I was the best, jungler at the time. I was still figuring everything out. Yeah, you were very good. You were really good.
I can't even remember what it was like getting into League. I was probably doing the dumbest things possible. Like it's well, first of all, it's been like 10 years, but the other thing too is that like there's no way I had any idea what I was doing. It's just not possible. The same way I couldn't load up League right now and know what I was doing. Like it's just not gonna, it's not possible. I could roughly know because I have context to the genre, but there's no way. So there's definitely.
I was playing 2 people in the solo lane. I didn't realize it was for 1 person.
Yeah,
you were griefing.
Even before a lot of this like ranked matchmaking talk. I've even said that. Like,
I love that you're ranked. That's your talk.
I know. But I have to put it in that way because I'm like clowning myself on it to before I did the ranked matchmaking talk. I even said that like this game is going to take a while for the player base to really learn it because it's just a lot of stuff you got to learn. There's a lot of like strategy in MOBAs, and even in Unite, there's a lot of strategy and knowing what timing and when and why you got to be somewhere and when it's okay to like leave top lane. I see some people like throw their lives just to defend top goal, and it's like just let it go, just let it go. So little things like that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think we're all still learning. Even like like I'm considered a professional player. I feel like I'm still learning. The game's so new. We don't have this figured out yet. We don't have this figured out. Like in a year, we're gonna be like, what were we doing? What were we doing? It's
and then the addition of characters and new maps, maybe. Like you never know. You just never know where it's going.
Yeah, fair.
Well, boys, I think we did it. New season coming very soon. New Pokemon, new everything. We've got the AOS Cup. It's going to be really exciting to see what changes. I want to thank everyone for watching this. I want to thank everyone for listening to this podcast. This has been You're on Fire. I'm Jake, your resident content cowboy, saying I love you on behalf of Lucian Crashy. Goodbye.